We are now in Parashat Vayetze. We're going to read from the Zohar in page Kuf Mem Zayin Amud Bet, 147b. And if you are aware of the story, then last week Yaakov comes and takes the blessings from Esav. Esav gets very upset and he starts to building up resentment and hate against him, and he's saying, okay, no problem, my father will die, I will go after my brother. And in the meantime, Rivka tells Yaakov to run away, and the famous story that Yaakov is running away, and on the way he goes to sleep, and he has the famous dream that he sees the ladder, angels going up and down the ladder, many interpretations specifically about the dream. But before the dream happens something very interesting, that Yaakov decides to lay down on the ground and he makes a little camp, and he decides to take a few stones and put it around his head as a shield, as a cover from evil animals or whatever it is, which brings up many questions. If you're so afraid of the animals, why are you only covering the head and not the rest of the body? Anyways, many different interpretations why specifically the covering of the head with the stones. But we're going to learn a little bit what does it mean, the stones that he had around his head. And then we'll continue and we'll see what the rest of the parasha has many interesting things. And especially when it comes to Yaakov, Yaakov is a very unique individual. So we'll see where he's taking us with that. So again, if you want to follow 147b, the line starts Vayikach me'avnei hamakom, and it says that Yaakov took from the stones from the place where he decided to stop. And interestingly, it says avnei hamakom lo ktiv. It's talking about the stones from the place itself. When he says avnei hamakom, we can understand from that he took all the stones that were around him. Ela me'avnei hamakom, when it says the word me'avnei hamakom, the stones of the place, meaning that he chose specific stones, specific ones that are unique and expensive, that they're around there. Now, what kind of a place is that he's looking on the ground and he's looking for the expensive stones? Here you look on the floor, you see stones, they're worthless. He was in a very special place that the stones on the floor were gems and expensive stones. In Hebrew it's called margaliot. Margaliot is like expensive gems, and they were just spread on the floor there. He just started picking them up. But what are these stones that he picked up? There's a hint here. Ba leramez al ilen inun avne yekar margalan tavan. These are precious stones that he took, what we call the margaliot tovot. We found that term many times in the Torah. I think the closest translation will be precious stones to margaliot tovot. What is this stones that he took? This is the secret of the 12 stones that were on the breastplate. Again, we find the same term in the Torah, avanim. Avanim is stones, and where do we find it in the Torah? Again, avanim, stones on the breastplate that the Kohen Gadol used to wear. So the 12 stones that he took was already a secret to the stones that he gathered in that place. It's not saying it here right now, but we do know that Yaakov Avinu, where he slept, was exactly where Bet HaMikdash is. So, and this is where he saw the ladder. The ladder is not from that place, rather from Bet El, and the ladder goes in a slanted way, but above where he was sleeping. Bet El is a little bit away from Yerushalayim. But nevertheless, this is a very unique place. He wasn't lying on stam ground. When Yaakov Avinu decides to put his head down, that's on a very holy ground. So obviously there was precious stones there, and he selected the unique ones that later on were the stones that became the stones of the breastplate. This is why it says avnei hamakom. He didn't just take some bricks there and made a little wall. De'inun tresar avnin elain. What are these 12 stones that went on the breastplate? These are the secrets of the 12 stones that are rooted in the world above. And these are the secret of the 12 angels that are sitting under the Malchut. We learned a few times that the 12 tribes, they came from somewhere. Why 12 and not 13 or not 11? And where do they come from? Where are they rooted from? Because we know that Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they're Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferet. So where these tribes are coming from? The tribes are coming from the Malchut. But there are 12 angels that are positioned, so to say, or placed in the sphere of Malchut. And underneath from that, that's where those tribes are coming from. Kama dichtiv 12 avanim, and we find in other places that he took 12 stones. What are who else also took 12 stones besides Yaakov Avinu? Then we know that also Eliyahu Navi also took 12 stones, and these are corresponding to the 12 angels in order to build the altar to Hashem, which is Keneged HaMalchut, is corresponding to the Malchut. Eliyahu Navi also, he gathered a bunch of stones to build an altar. And again, this is corresponding to these 12 angels. Utchot ilen 13,000 rivuvan avnei pisilan. And also, there's another time when we find this 12 stones. These 12 stones means that there are 12,000 stones from what's called Avnei Gazit. When they build the Bet HaMikdash, they built it from very unique stones. Look now, go to the Kotel and see these amazing stones that survived over 2,500 years. Now forget about the size of them right now, that we would wonder how did they move them even 2,500 years ago. How could they carry such massive stones? Not to even say, how did they cut them? I mean, we're not allowed to, anything that has to be in Bet HaMikdash, they cannot use any type of metal to cut it, because the Bet HaMikdash itself is holy, and there's a prohibition in the Torah, lo tanif alecha charbecha, you're not allowed to take any type of metal and to break a stone of the Mikdash. So how did they cut them?
But this is the restraining wall. It's actually not the Beit HaMikdash.
Doesn't matter. Everything that they build in Bet HaMikdash, even the walls, everything is part of the Bet HaMikdash. There is a kedusha there, there's a holiness. And yeah, exactly, how did they cut the stones? There was a certain worm. The worm is called shamir. And this was a very little worm that wherever it would hold its hands, it was so powerful that it would crack the stone perfectly. And there's a whole story in the Talmud how Shlomo HaMelech needed to find the worm. He went to the minister of the water, where first he went to different places. They told him go to the minister of the water. He went to the water. The Sar B'Shamayim, the minister in the heavens, he told him what to say. The worm came up. They had to capture it. A beautiful story in the Talmud. How did they cut these stones? But nevertheless, these are called Avnei Gazit. He says here there are 12,000. He says it here, Yudbet Elef. Yudbet Elef is 12,000, but he also says Verevavot, which means 10,000 on each one. Avnei Gazit, Meshupot Shehen Malachei Shechina Meshamshot Ota. So he's also giving here a number of a group of angels that are serving the Shekhinah, the feminine aspect of the divine, which is a number that I don't know how to calculate it necessarily, because first it says 12,000, Yudbet Elef, Verevavot. So one can, Revava means 10,000.
120 million.
So can be 120 million, but I don't know if he's talking about 10,000 for each one of the 12,000, or 10,000 on all the 12,000, but nevertheless, he's giving us here an exorbitant amount of angels, that these are the angels that are the servants of the Shekhinah. Ve'chulhu ikrun avanin, and you know how these angels are called? Avanim, that's their name. Avanim means a stone. Al shem ha-Shekhinah ha-nikret even. Why they're called avanim? Because the Shekhinah is also called even. And where does he bring us the source that the Shekhinah is called even? He sends us to a reference to a book called Me'orei Or, and it says over there, Stam kinui even b'malchut. Why is the malchut is called even? Shem ban. We know that the Kadosh Baruch Hu has many different names, but the dominating name, or the most powerful name of all, of course, is Yud Kei Vav Kei, which Yud Kei Vav Kei, there are many ways of placing to it a numerical value. The regular Yud Kei Vav Kei is 26, of course, but then if you add the letters inside of Yud Kei Vav Kei, then you'll get 4 types of combinations. You can add it with an extra Aleph, with an extra Vav, with an extra Yud, and so forth. So we get 4 numerical values of the name of Hashem, and these are the name of Membet, 42, Samech Gimel, Sag is 63, Ab, 72, and also, which one did we miss? Ma, Ban, so Shem, Ban, Ma, 45, Ban, 52, Sag, 63, and Ab, 72. So he says here, the term for the Malchut that is called Even, a stone, comes from the name Shem Ban, Betosefet Echad, with adding 1, Bavav Sheba, adding 1 to the Vav, Shu Erat Atipa Sheba. Anyways, he's giving here something that not necessarily we can relate with, but he's quoting the source where we get to the point that the Malchut and the Shekhinah is called an Even. Begin Kach, therefore, it says that he took Mevne Hamakom, from the stones of the place. You know, we also call the Kadosh Baruch Hu Hamakom. You find that in many times that we refer to Hashem as the place. You know where you hear it most common is when we say Birkat HaGomel. And when somebody is sitting Shiva, and somebody is mourning on someone, it says, Hamakom Yenachem Otchem, B'toch Shach Evlei Yisrael. The place is going to comfort you. But why does it say from the stones of the place? To hint al Yudbet Malachim Arishonim Shetachat HaShechina. To hint to us that there are 12 angels that are placed under the Shekhinah. Whether they're holding the Shekhinah, supporting the Shekhinah, serving the Shekhinah, doesn't matter, but there are 12 angels there. Velo Avnei HaMakom, and it's not referring to the angels that are underneath them. Da hu makom de ke'amar, meaning in other words, that this is the makom that it's referring to, that's referring to the sphere of Malchut, which is also another way of calling the Shekhinah. Now, it says that he took the stones from the place where he was, and he put them around his head. Now, it uses a very odd word. It doesn't say berosho, merasho, merashotav. That's plural. Why? What do you have many heads? You have only one head. Why would you say merashotav? Say mirosho. He put the stones around his head. Here it says, and he put it around his heads. So he asks, merashotav. The man. Why are you saying many heads? Shel mishem samet avanim. What heads did he put the stones? It makes more sense to say that he put the stones around his head. Now, kefi pshat sheYaakov sam avanim saviv rosho, you would understand the pshat here, the literal explanation that he actually put stones around his head. So why are you saying merashotav? Rashotav is plural. Hayat tzich lomar vayasem merasho. Should be he put the stones around his head. What does he say? Ela merashotav. Why he says it's plural? Dehahu makom, that this place is the place of the Shekhinah, that later on was built the Bet HaMikdash there. Mai merashotav. So why would he say merashotav? Lama katuv b'lashon rabim I tema keman deshave itchot reshe. That if you will say that it's like somebody who puts something under his head, no, this is not so. He didn't make a pillow to his head. That if so, then why would it say merashotav in a plural way? Ela merashotav le'arba sitrin de alma. Rather, saying in other words, than a plural way, rashei, it's coming to explain to us that there are 4 corners of the world. These are called the 4 winds of the world. And the 4 winds of the world are the way how the Malchut is, so to say, governing the world. Saying in other words, ledaled rashei hanhaga nimshachim ha'malchut. The Malchut is the power that controls this world. Like we explained many times, that when Hashem needed some type of a connector between him and the world, he had to connect some type of a mediator. And we see that in many times. He wanted to give us the Torah, then he brought us a man to give the Torah. We already learned a couple times, why does Hashem need a man to give me the Torah? Oh, forget about that. Now look forward to the future. Why does Hashem need a Mashiach to bring the redemption? Can't Hashem bring the redemption by himself? He needs to hire a human being. So we explained that many times, that the mediator needs to have a common denominator for both sides. And Hashem is spiritual, and there's nothing physical about Hashem. In order for Hashem to connect with us, the mediator has to have some part spiritual, some part physical. Therefore, Hashem cannot bring the redemption by himself, because the redemption is in this physical world. And there's nothing physical in Hashem. So he needs a physical mediator, somebody who has both the physical and the spiritual. So, for example, giving the Torah had to be by a man. Because if the Kadosh Baruch Hu would give the Torah only in the spiritual level, then how would we receive it as humans? So you have to choose a man that has, I don't have to say 50-50, 50% spiritual, 50% physical, but nevertheless a mixture of physical and spiritual. Same thing here, the Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted to rule the world, or to govern the world, or to control the world in any type of way. Had to be some type of a system where he connects to the world, and this system is called the 10 Sfirot, the 10 emanation. The Sfira, the last one that is called Malchut, this is the Sfira that is dressed into the world, where the Kadosh Baruch Hu can control the world. Just imagine an analogy of those puppets, that they're working on strings. Not a puppet that you put your hand in. Even the puppet that you put the hand in, you have to move your fingers in order to control the puppet. If you don't move the fingers, nothing's going to move in the puppet. But there's these puppets that they have strings, and you can, move the strings a certain way. They're much more sophisticated. The legs can move, and the hands can move, and the head. Marionette, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you. So just imagine that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is the boss. He's the one who's moving the puppet, and we, the whole world, not only we, the whole world is the marionette. So what are the strings? The strings are the 10 Sfirot. And when Kadosh Baruch Hu pulls the strings in different ways, then the dubi, the buba, the marionette moves how he wants. Here, of course, this is just an analogy. Here you're talking about billions of strings, how the Kadosh Baruch Hu is moving the world. This goes to show you what a sophisticated system is the master of the universe, that he's controlling the world through these, so to say, strings. How does it all come about? Through the Sfirot. This is the idea of the Sfirot. The last one, which is called the Sfirat HaMalchut, this is the Sfira that is already dressed into the world. Malchutcha, Malchut, Kol Olamim. The Malchut is what controlling the entire world, all Olamim. And so Malchut is the tool how the world is controlled. In the Malchut, of course, it becomes much more sophisticated, and it's broken into 4 corners. You can call it north, south, east, west. You can call it earth, fire, water, and air. You can call it in many different ways. What are these 4 corners of the world? But nevertheless, it says here that Malchut has 4 heads, so to say. These heads are these 4 corners of the world. Why do we have them? To control the world. Lehanhig et haolam, to control the world, to the world that is divided into 4 segments. Again, it's called Daled Ruchot. I'm sure you read once or twice that when we say Shema, what should be in your mind when you're saying the word Echad? Echad, so Aleph of the Echad, you have to meditate on Alufo Shel Olam, on the Kadosh Baruch Hu's unity and uniqueness. Echad, 1, Aleph. Chet on the Echad is for 7 firmaments and 1 earth. 8 is, Chet is 8. And Daled is the Daled Ruchot Olam. That the Kadosh Baruch Hu, that is dwelling in all firmaments and all the worlds, is controlling all 4 corners of the world. Everywhere that you can think of, Kadosh Baruch Hu is there. So that's why it's divided into 4 corners. And again, these 4 corners, in Hebrew we call them Arba Ruchot. Ruach is a wind, but nevertheless also Ruach is a side. And one can explain it as the 4 corners, north, south, east, west. And many will interpret that it's also referring to the 4 elements of the world that control the world. So this is why it says Merashotav, because Rashotav means the heads going on the corners. So Yaakov Avinu, that's why it says it put the stones on all the heads. Tlat Avnin Listav, you have 3 stones, and it says Tzafon, Utlat Listar Marav, Utlat Listar Darom, Utlat Listar Mizrach. There are 3 sides for every corner. So the way how it divided it, you have 4 camps, and each camp has 3 sides to it. And if you focus on what I'm saying, it resembles how the tribes were surrounded the Aron Kodesh. There were 4 camps, and each camp included 3 tribes. And they call it the northern camp, the southern camp, the eastern camp, and the western camp. And every camp, there was 3 tribes, that one of them was the head of all 3 tribes. Same thing here. I mean, Yaakov is the one who gave birth to the tribes. Same thing here. It says like this, Yaakov tiken 4 machanot shel malachei hashchina. Yaakov, in his dream, went up to Shamayim and says, okay guys, let me set up how it's going to be. We're going to have 4 camps here. And the camps are going to be holding the angels that are called malachei hashchina, the angels that are serving the Shechina. Shehem Michael, you have one on the side is Michael, with Michael, another 2 angels, and that will be to the southern side, and this is called Chesed. So on the right side we have, or I shouldn't say right, we'll call it the north, the southern side is the angel Michael, and he has another 2 angels with him. On one side we have the angel Gabriel with another 2 angels. Everybody gets another 2. There are 3 on each side, and Michael and Gabriel is the northern side. And it's coming from the side of Gvura. Uriel is on another side, and he has another 2 angels. Uriel is for the side of the east, coming from Tiferet. Not yeast, rather east. I know it sounded like yeast. Then the 4th angel is Raphael, and he has with him another 2 angels, and they're coming from the west, from the side of Malchut. So we have the structure, how the angels were positioned in the world above. Therefore, later on, when we got 12 tribes and we had to surround the Aron Kodesh, the ark, then they were divided in the same way, 4 camps. Now he comes and he gives here a little side note. He says, "Umevoar shmot kol yudbet malachim lehalan bedaf kuf memtet amud bet." If you want to know about the names of all these 12 angels, he sends you to a reference. Bezrat Hashem, maybe we'll get to it because it's about 2 pages forward from us. So maybe it's already worth just continuing to find out all 12 names of all these angels. For now, we just know that each camp would have one mefaked, one commander, mefaked kita, and Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael. Okay? וכל הנהגות שמחגת סתם של המלכות נפעלות על ידי אלו, הדלת מחנות מלאכים. All the הנהגה is how it's governed, coming from Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, and so forth. And Malchut, they're all controlled, so to say, or governed through these 4 groups of the angels. וההוא מקום עלי וליתקנה בהו. And on that, the Shekhinah is dwelling on these 4 camps, and it's able to bring a rectification through these angels. וכדן וישכב במקום ההוא. That's why when we read in the Torah that it says וישכב במקום ההוא, Yaakov Avinu lied down in that place. דתתקן ארסה. What did he do really? He made a tikkun to what is called the bed of the Malchut. King comes to visit your home, you think you're just going to let him come in? Oh, you start painting the walls and fixing everything and clearing the floor, and most important thing has to be a comfortable bed. What, the king is going to sleep on a mattress to fix the bed? So Yaakov did the same thing. He understood the Shekhinah has to come and dwell into this world. He says, okay, I have to fix the bed here. Shachiv be, and he lied down on it. What does that mean that he lied down? You think Yaakov Avinu Bemet actually lied down and started snoring there? Man shachiv be shimsha. What does it mean that he lied down there? Meaning that the Zeir Anpin, the Sfirot that are underneath Yaakov, which are called Zeir Anpin, how do we call them? We may have found it many times. They're called Shemesh. And the Malchut is called Yareach. The Shemesh is a sun, and Yareach is the moon. Saying in other words, Lefi sheYaakov tiken az tfilat arvit. Yaakov Avinu at that time says, you know what? My grandfather created a prayer, Tfilat Shacharit. Avraham Avinu sat, and in his Ruach HaKodesh, he understood that in the time of the day in the morning, we have to pray, a certain prayer. And he established it. Yitzchak in his Ruach HaKodesh understood that something is going on in the realm above, that in that part of the day, from the middle of the day, from Chatzot till Shkia, till sundown, there's something going on in the world above that right now is definitely not the time to explain it, but something's going on and we have to do a certain action to whether to get attached to it, to get influenced by it, or to help it, to assist it. So Yitzchak came and said, okay, I'll establish a prayer, we'll call it Mincha. And Yaakov says, well, my grandfather and my father did it, I also have to do it. He saw in his Ruach HaKodesh, in his divine inspiration, that something's going on in the world above, from Tzet HaKochavim, from when the stars go out, till Chatzot, then you have to pray Arvit. I mean, our words, we don't understand really what we're doing with our words, but we're obviously doing something in the world above. So it says, Lefi sheYaakov tiken et tfilat Arvit, since Yaakov Avinu established the prayer of Arvit, tiken baze et HaMalchut, he brought a rectification to the Malchut. V'tiken et mitata karaui, and he established a rectification to the base, so to say, to the bed of the Malchut. Why? What is this? Kedei she'yavo Zair Anpin, that the Zair Anpin, the Sfirot from the world above, Shu midato shel Yaakov, that's the midah of Yaakov, li'itiyached im HaMalchut, to have a unity with the Sfirah of Malchut. Why do we need all these things? I know it sounds like lofty terms, but whenever there's a yichud, there's a unity, then comes something from it. Something is birthed from that. And we see in the world below that if a man and a woman come together in unity, then they'll bring a child. Same thing here. Where do you think we get it from? When there's a unity in the Sfirot, in the world above, there's a birth of something, a child. That's why it says about Yaakov, Vayeshev al hamita, and he sat on the bed. If you remember, that's going to come in Parashat Vayetze, that he says that he sat on the bed. Why are you telling me he sat on the bed? Don't you think I figured that out? Where did he sit? On the floor. Why did he say sat on the bed? The reason for that, rather because it was, not because it was befitting for him to sit on the bed, rather because he was able to rectify, to bring a tikkun of the bed where is going to be the unity between the Zir Anpin and the Malchut. You know, I mean, again, not to get into to too much descriptions, but when there's a unity, it has to be a bed. I mean, in most cases, but nevertheless, has to be a bed. Even la halakha, it has to be on a bed. But nevertheless, Yaakov Avinu, he established already the bed. How should be the unity between the Zir Anpin and the Malchut? Therefore, ve'alda, it says, vayishkav b'makom hahu, and he lied down in that place. It's already hinting to the secret of the yichud, of the unity. Uvegin kach, and therefore it says, ktiv v'zarach hashemesh uba hashemesh. It says in the Torah that he, in the book of Kohelet, and the sun shined, and then the sun came. If you ever read the book of Kohelet in the first chapter, I always find it very difficult to say Kohelet in English. Some tontonery, something like that, but nevertheless, Kohelet. So in the first chapter, it says a very odd way. V'zarach hashemesh, the sun has shined. V'ba hashemesh, and the sun came. If it shined, of course it came. No? So it says here, why it says that? She'azair anpin, that the Zir Anpin shined to the Malchut, and then it came to have a unity between the Zir Anpin and the Malchut. This is an explanation from the Ramak. Now let's read a little bit more. Rabbi Yitzchak hava yatir yom achad kame me'arta me'apekuta. Comes Rabbi Yitzchak, and not Yitzchak Avinu, Tana, and he would sit and he would do what is called hitbodedut. He would sit with himself and ponder about the greatness of Hashem, meditate on the unity of Hashem. Like I told you many times, in our generation, you say the word hitbodedut, you associate it right away with Rabbi Nachman from Breslev and the Chassidut of Breslev. But hitbodedut was established way before that. Hitbodedut is a form of meditation. So it says here, Rabbi Yitzchak, I used to say, Haya yoshev v'mitboded. Where? One time he did it in front of a cave that the name of the cave is called the Apikuta. That's the name. They used to go to caves where do you do hitbodedut? You need to be secluded from the world. In our generation, it's hard to do hitbodedut. You have to go to a forest or something. But also then, hitbodedut comes from the word bidud hanefesh, that you have to isolate yourself. You want to have good thoughts, you can't sit in a noisy place. Okay. Avar chad barnash, passed there a man, utrein bnin imeh, and with him 2 boys. And they used to go from one place to another. And it says, "Hem ayu mehalchim baderech." They went on a journey. These father and 2 boys. Vechamimut hashemesh hikta alehem, and the strength of the sun strike them. Therefore, v'hava amar chad lechad. One son said to the other, "Da tukfa deshimsha misitra dedarom ihu." The power of the sun is coming from the southern side. And that's where you want to know where you are in directions. You look where the sun is, right? If you want to know a little bit of navigation, you can look at the sun and you can see more or less what time it is. You can see what direction you are. So if you know more or less which country you are, but nevertheless, you want a basic navigation. The sun is during the day, it's in the south. In the morning, it's in the east. In the night, it's in the west. So the one son says to the other, the heat of the sun is coming from the south. Okay. Ve'alma la itkayam ela al ruach. And the world exists only because of wind. Why? Because the wind, it's cooling down the heat. Ve'gam ruach hametzuya, and also the wind is found Sheha'adam shoev mimeno derech hapeh, and the wind is also, it can be found that the man inhales the air. Ve'ha'af shu kar hu mekayem et ha'adam. Even though if the wind is cold, it will give life to the man. Ki neshima achat chama yotzet ve'neshima achat kara nichneset. Look how interesting how the Zohar is talking about 2,500 years ago. He says, one breath comes in, it's warm, and cold, and when it comes out, it's hot. Right? Go now to a cold place. Take a breath, it's cold air. Take it out, hot air. Right? Don't have to be a genius for that. Now he gives a reason why he says that. V'natam ta'am l'davar. Begin deruach ihu kiyuma shelimu dechol sitrin. Why? Because the wind or breath, but here he says wind, is the kiyuma shalem. It's the complete. How would you say? The kiyum is the existence, and no, the kiyum is existence. Shalem is whole. The complete existence of all the sides of the world. Ve'ilmale de'ihu kaima, and if there wasn't wind in completion, bishlimu la yachil alma litkaima. If we wouldn't have wind, but the way it's in a hallway, the world will not exist. Okay? Saying in other words, shekmo shelemala ba'anaga alyona, the same way in the world above. Ilmale haruach, if there wouldn't be ruach, there wouldn't be wind, meaning tiferet. Remember the side of the wind coming from the side of the tiferet. Hamachri'a ben gdola ugvura, that is the middle between chesed and gvura, that it's kind of like making a peace between them. Lo haya yachol ha'olam litkayem. The world would not be able to sustain or to exist even. Ki hu mashlim letrein sitrin, because the ruach is the mediator of both sides of gvura and tiferet. If you know another way, where do we find this familiar? When we say every day, couple times, Oseh Shalom Bimromav. What is Oseh Shalom Bimromav? We say that in Kaddish, we say that in Birkat Hamazon, and many other places, making peace in the heavens. What is this peace in the heavens? Well, you think they have a boxing match in the world above. What is this peace? So, we know that on one side there's one angel, and angel Michael, coming from the side of chesed, of kindness. On the other side is the angel Gabriel, coming from the side of Gvura. Gabriel is representing fire, the element of fire, and Michael is the element of water. Now fire and water, they don't get along together. The fire will overpower the water, the water will overpower the fire. So there's constantly a battle between two camps, between the chesed and Gvura, between the water and the fire. So the Kadosh Baruch Hu elevates them up to their source, Oseh Shalom Bimromav, and he brings them to a point that even though they're different, but they share the common denominator that they're both creation of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So Hashem cancels out their difference of opinions, so to say, and he puts them together, Oseh Shalom Bimromav, making peace in his heavens. So we saw at the time of the plagues in Mitzrayim, when came down the hail, it wasn't just little balls like how we imagine. It says it was these giant balls, probably in the size of a bowling ball, but there was esh mitlakachat. It came down with fire. So first of all, just imagine such a ball falls from the sky in the speed of, I don't know what, Mach 7. But it was also full of fire. And there was a miracle in the miracle, that the fire was, the ball of ice was flammable to the fire. Just imagine how it looked, like an Armageddon, balls of fire, hail and fire coming from the heavens. So,
Story of fire.
So that I don't know, but nevertheless, so when we say so many times a day, Oseh Shalom Bimromav, but if you read the continuous, Uberachamav Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, Hashem is making peace in the world above, and in His great mercy, He's doing peace between us. So the same way that there's a unity in the world above, has to be unity here. Our sages say, when there's a separation in the world below, it causes a separation in the world above. That's why one of the worst things that we can do is be separated from each other. That's why we see the theme of the exile is disagreements and arguments and separations. If we would just now make a campaign that we all get united for a couple hours, but real unity, the redemption comes like that. But the reality is that we're not. And I said many times that I believe that the main reason why we're still in exile is only because we're still separated from each other, because of disagreements. Because we have enough Torah. I don't know if you noticed, I think there was never so much Torah in our planet in the last 3,000-4,000 years. Yeshivot all over the world. The internet is flooded with Torah. Everywhere you go, books in an abundance, applications. Everywhere you want to learn Torah, the Torah is accessible. We never had such access to Torah. And when you want to talk about charity, you know how much charity organizations are out there, how much chesed is out there, how many people are donating money, giving, handing over. We've never had so much kindness in any type of history. And many other things, but what are we missing? And also mitzvot. I don't think ever we had so many mitzvot in a generation. We have easily 1 million or 2 people that are observing Torah and mitzvot. Can you imagine how many mitzvot, how many tefillin are being placed on hands every morning? So we never had such an abundance, but we're lacking one thing. It's called achdut. Is ahavat chinam, is unconditional love. And I mentioned that so many times that the first Beit HaMikdash, the first holy temple, was destroyed from 3 sins: idol worship, avodah zarah, gilui arayot, forbidden relations, and bloodshed, sfichut damim. Since the sin was revealed, then the length of the exile was revealed. When they left Yerushalayim, very soon we're going to read about the story. Purim is around the corner. Then, when they left Yerushalayim, the prophet told them, 70 years you're going to be back. Why? Because they knew the length of the time, because the sin was revealed, the length of the exile was revealed. And sure enough, 7 years later, had the story with Haman and Mordechai, and 3 years later, they come back to Yerushalayim. The second Beit HaMikdash was destroyed because of sinat chinam, for hate for no reason. Since the sin is not revealed, then the length of the exile is not revealed. And up until we'll correct sinat chinam, then we'll still be sitting here in exile. And now the Kadosh Baruch Hu is already tightening up the leash. Every minute, every day, every hour, another ring on the leash is being tightened. Till we're going to already choke and remove our ego and says, okay, let's see how we can all get along. But if we will be some miraculous act that we can find unity between ourselves, then right away we break all the power against us. So here he says something, the rest will continue tomorrow, but just to elaborate on what he's saying, tomorrow we'll explain it more in depth, but we have Rabbi Yitzchak that's sitting and doing hitbodedut next to a cave. I mean, nothing in the stories in the Zohar, they're not just some story that happened. Tomorrow we'll elaborate it more. We'll talk about it more. But Rabbi Yitzchak is sitting in front of a cave and doing hitbodedut. And then he sees a father and 2 kids coming, and they're traveling, and the sun hits them very hard. One son says, the heat of the sun is coming from the south. The other one says, well, if there wouldn't be any wind, then the heat would kill us. And the wind, when there is wind, then it causes unity between all the winds around the world. And we just learned about the 4 camps that Yaakov Avinu separated, the northern wind, the southern, east and west, which are the camps of these angels. We already explained. The next page we'll already find out all the names of the 12 angels. But nevertheless, we see how Yaakov already established it. So here we have this interesting story that the ruach, the spirit, the air, is the element that causes the unity between the rest of the elements. If you remember, before the end of the summer, we started learning a little bit about the names, the meaning of the names. We went a little bit with the elements, and we broke down the idea behind the elements of the water, the earth, the fire, and air. And we explained that the air has a unique quality, that it has the ability to connect everything together. So a person, for example, that their name has letters that are coming from the element of air, they have an extra addition to know how to bring things together. So here he says again, if there wouldn't be air, then the world will not sustain, will not be able to exist, because the air is the source that puts everything together. Just to conclude this class, because even though we're not even through, tomorrow Bezrat Hashem will learn a little bit more deeper what it means, what it's coming to tell us. But just on the surface, I can tell you something very simple. That the same way that the creation of the world is divided into 4 camps, then we're also different. We're even more different, because we're already a manifestation and we're divided into 12. Which means that each and every one of us will be different. Different opinions, different appearances, different everything. But nevertheless, we all come from the same source. Our goal is to be able to go over our differences, above our differences, and to create a unity. If we don't know how to create unity, and I don't like you because you coming from a certain country, or you have a certain accent, or you don't follow the same leader that I follow, or you learn a different type from what I learn, and I can't overcome this difference of opinions, then of course the world will not exist. We're not going to be in unity. Our job, somebody once asked me, why do you think Hashem did 12 tribes? Isn't it easy just to do one tribe and finish with all this headache? Avraham was one, Yitzchak was one, Yaakov was one. Why does Yaakov have to bring 12? So I said the whole point here, what Hashem wants us to do is to create unity. If we would be already united, so what would be the point? Hashem wants us to overpower our difference of opinions and still find a common denominator between each and every one of us, so that I can still like every other person. So his dress is different than me. So he speaks a little bit different than me. He likes this rabbi, he likes that rabbi. He goes with the hat like this, and he goes with the hat like that. Who cares? So Hashem put this obstacle in front of us, so we'll overpower it. If we're not going to be able to overpower it, then the olam lo mitkayem, the world will not exist, will cease to exist. So we'll continue Be'ezrat Hashem tomorrow. And hopefully we'll learn some profound message, what we need to do to continue the creation of the world, and not only that, to bring a rectification to the world. After all, we are the sons of Yitzchak Avinu. רבי חנניה בן הקשיא אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל לפיכך הרבה להם תורה ומצוות, שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה ויעדים.